you ever heard of the man?
Okay, so Andrew Tate is going to give us two situations, and we're going to hopefully break them down and get a better idea as to what he's trying to get us to understand. But keep in mind, he is setting the rules here, and that is what high-value men do. They set the rules in order to make themselves seem right. So keep that in mind.
What's the difference between a man, let's say me, I have 4 wives, right? What's the difference between a man having 4 wives and a woman having 4 men?
You can impregnate the 4 wives at the same time.
You can impregnate the 4 wives at the same time, and we know who the parents are, right? So
Yes.
let's say you had 4 pregnancies, you know who the mother is because she's carrying the baby, and you know who the dad is, top G. If you had a woman with 4 men and she gets pregnant, who's the parents?
What about if...
But no, I'm asking.
Okay, so let's break that down. In that kind of world where a man has 4 wives and a wife has 4 husbands, can you really know who the father is of the first situation? You know, where the father has, or where the man has 4 wives. Do you really know? Is there any way to know? If we were to go back in time and go back to the time where we didn't have genetic tests in order to prove paternity, could we really know? It's like a woman never going to be exposed to another male ever. Does the husband know where all of his wives are at all times of the day and night? You know, like, honestly, I think with having more and more wives, the less likely you are of knowing where they are at all times and keeping track of them. It's just a matter of, it's just a matter of numbers at this point. You have more to keep track of. There's only so much time in the day, and you're just one person. There's no way to prove paternity at that point. It's actually harder to prove paternity the more wives you have. It's just basic numbers. And then he brings up the fathers with 1 wife thing. Doesn't make any sense, because those husbands are going to know that, if we're all sharing this one woman, they're not going to guarantee that they're going to get a kid, and they're not going to, necessarily know whose it is. And she could have slept with somebody outside of that relationship, and she could have still gotten pregnant. So, it doesn't make a difference. This is just about, trusting the person you're with and making sure that they're loyal to you. That's all that matters. Okay? But this whole thing of him saying the only reason why men can have multiple women and a woman can only have 1 man is because of this fallacy that he's just propagating. It doesn't change reality. Reality is that just because you have 4 wives doesn't mean that those wives are going to be just as loyal to you. It doesn't mean that if they do get pregnant, it doesn't mean that you're the father. It doesn't. It 100% doesn't. There's millions of other men on this earth who have the capacity to impregnate one of your wives. Okay? So it's harder to keep track of multiple people, especially when they're grown individuals and can be conniving and just as malicious and just as, malevolent. Okay? They'll come up with a plan, they'll cover their tracks, and they'll get pregnant, and they'll still be able to cover it because as long as they've slept with you, in between the times that they committed this act outside of your marriage, you're never going to know. You're never going to know. Unless he's a completely different race, you're just never going to know. It's a complete fallacy. You're talking about a world that does not exist. Okay? You would have to be the only man on the earth, in order to be able to prove that, those children are yours. Okay? It's just the basic truth of the matter. So, and the last thing I'll say is about that wife with 4 husbands. They know that there's nowhere. They have accepted the idea that whatever baby she has, it could be with any one of us. And we're okay with that. We're all the father at that point. The 4 men in that 1 wife situation, they have accepted that they will not know who the father is, okay? Or else they wouldn't have agreed to that particular relationship, okay? If they wanted their own child, they would have been in a relationship that was monogamous, okay? So that they could have that clear and, have that trust and not involve any other men that could potentially impregnate the person they want to be with. Okay, they would not be in that one woman, four husband relationship. It just wouldn't happen. Okay, they're working against their own interests at that point. Okay, so that particular situation doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they know who the father is of that child. All they care about is the woman that they're with and the child that she brings forth. It is just consensual. It's consent. And I feel like that's the weak point of Tate here, is that he fails to understand when consent is applicable and when it is, understood and when it applies. I feel that he's just so self-involved in himself that he can't see past anything that he does, and it's hard for him to have that self-reflection. It's hard for him to be self-critical. He's done it on camera that he can't find anything wrong with himself, which is a telling tale. It is a tell that when someone can't be critical about who they are and what they can be better at, it proves that they're not necessarily in the right headspace. It takes the right person to bring them out. Honestly, I really feel like him converting to Islam is him recognizing just how he's missing something. He has all this money. He has so much attention. He can do anything he wants, drive anywhere he wants, fly anywhere he wants, do anything he wants. And yet he's now trying to fill some sort of void that has always been inside of him. It's absolutely insane to think of people try so hard to get to the top of the economic ladder and still be empty when you can find fulfillment without the money. The money didn't fulfill him. Being a good example, recognizing that being a good example and helping others, that is what truly brings fulfillment. If there's anything that we can learn from Tate, is that he has recognized that helping others is a fulfilling life, not the money. It is nice to have the money, but overall, if you can impart wisdom and experience and help people avoid, heartbreak, terror, trauma, you are gratified. You are fulfilled. And that is something that we should all take into consideration and not try so hard. If you want to gain money, you should do it only to encourage and bring good about the world. Okay? But you don't need it to be fulfilled. You don't need it to be fulfilled. We can talk about that in another video, but a fulfilled life is a life full of contentment. And you don't need money to be content. You just need purpose. That's all that matters. Like, comment, subscribe if you find, some of the words that I said pretty important. Let me know down in the comments below if you disagree. I'd love to hear it too. I'm an open book and I love having a different perspective, especially brought onto the ideas that I bring forward. I feel like there hasn't been a lot of challenge in order to Tate's ideologies, and I feel that, this is a good step in the right direction. We just got to remember that, we can't let people set the rules of the game, and we're amazed that he comes out on top. He's setting the parameters, so he knows and controls the environment. So yeah, he's always going to sound right. Keep that in mind. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next video. This need to carry on your genetics is like some sort of authoritarian, power trip that, oh, I'm so great and so wonderful that I should, have my genetics carry on the actual human race. In the end, it's more about the development of the child that really dictates its true future.